Today, businesses know that being a responsible corporate citizen is not an option. The Seer program goes a step beyond the triple bottom line of people, planet, profits, and adds a fourth factor to the equation, product, because delivery of a quality product or service is essential for a sustainable competitive advantage. Great companies and their stakeholders demand more: environmental stewardship, corporate citizenship, product and service excellence, and financial strength. When these four values are integrated into the DNA of a business, the result is a 21st century blueprint for business sustainability and excellence. And the place to find out more about this program is Pepperdine's Seer Symposium.
Each of us has experienced situations where our personal values are in conflict with organizational values, or within an organization, organizational values themselves are in conflict, or your personal values are in conflict with each other when you're trying to make a choice. Sir Isaiah Berlin, regarded by many as one of the premier 20th century philosophers and thinkers, he came up with he coined this, a tragedy of choice. He said that we all had a pluralism of values, and then we had to make the tragedy of choice. We had to make a choice that went against one value when it went for the other value. He said that our values are often incompatible and at times incommensurable, that is, not jointly measurable on a common scale. To add to my earlier simple examples, more justice, less mercy; more equality, less liberty; more efficiency, less spontaneity. And there is no objective procedural rule that enables us to balance one value against the other in such a conflict and decide where to draw the line. Each value is its own yardstick. There is no independent measuring rod that can be used to referee the clashes between the values. Our model or framework that we use here at Pepperdine to discuss and dissect this conflict is SEER, or Social, Environmental, Ethical Responsibility. The model itself captures many of today's prevalent values. We have environmental stewardship, CSR, corporate social responsibility, a great product or service, and financial strength. Without all of those values, you're not in an optimized state. It's easy to talk about it, or in academia, talk about a model and the framework. The framework and the model isn't so interesting. What's interesting is actually making it work. The practical application, the day-to-day strategic management of making these choices and the tragedy of choice. And make no mistake, our goal here today is to develop an understanding of how these exceptional leaders navigate the tragedy of choice and leverage their organization to work towards the holy grail of sustainability or a closed-loop society. We have 4 transformational leaders here today. We're going to start with Kathleen Rogers.
The goal of SEER is to help companies appreciate and adhere to a way of doing business that embraces environmental stewardship along with corporate citizenship, product and service quality, and financial strength. Assume that Earth Day Network's core business function is environmental stewardship, and that financial stability is essential as we are our product and service quality, which are our programs and campaigns, to reach their intended audience. They have to meet all these goals and objectives. We have to evaluate them for success. We have to be honest about the outcomes and our impact. How does a global NGO like ours, responsible for the biggest and most famous brand in the environmental world, stay true to its mission, which again is to broaden, activate, and diversify the movement, when we have 7 billion people and counting, and we can only meet some of those needs, very few of those needs, and to what end? How do we fund that, keep it true to its course, and make people understand that what we do is essential to moving everything along, including environmental stewardship inside companies? Our core mission is to protect the environment, to save the earth, and save it from ourselves.
Well, I am so honored to be here today. The SEER model is really important to me, and I believe it deeply, and that there is another almost overarching umbrella at a higher level, which I call conscious leadership, which I think really adds and supplants and is part of this whole model. And when I'm talking about conscious leadership, I'm not talking about singing Kumbaya around the campfire, woo-woo, I'm really talking about the fact that the way we conduct ourselves in life, the things we say, how we are in the world, the energy we project in a positive way has a tremendous effect on shifting organizations, on shifting communities, and shifting the world. Operating in a place you're really your most authentic self. And when you're operating like that in your own self, your businesses will operate from that higher purpose-filled point of view. And it's a very, very, very powerful way to be in life, to enjoy your work, and to have a company become successful. And really, our whole purpose of existence is to be successful using the Seer model. None of this would work if we weren't making money right now or growing. But why we're in business? Because we're trying to save the planet. And we're trying to do that without going out of business, because there's a lot of ways, a lot of fronts you can fight the battle to save the planet. But we have to be profitable at the same time. And becoming increasingly profitable is really making me happy right now. It means we can do more.
Seer is special because it's one of the few programs that encapsulates both environmentalism and real ethics. So it's not just doing it for the sake of profit, it's not just doing it for the sake of saving the planet. It's a much more round education in values, and it's a much more applicable curriculum to everyday business life. I hope to be able to use it when I'm doing business and I'm given either an operations project and I can look at sustainability, or when I'm facing a board of directors and I can talk to them about ethical business practices.
I think it's because it embeds the process and within every element of business. It's not just that it focuses on educating people that are, let's say in a CSR division of a company. So, my focus is in marketing, and hopefully I can implement the processes throughout that division, and that can be spread along to other areas of the corporation.
The thing that struck me most when Michael mentioned the phrase tragedy of choice is that I've lived it both, I think, on my personal side and in my business career as well. And from an iPath perspective, which is what the latter part of my presentation we'll talk about today, I'm a living, breathing case study. So I'm knee-deep in this model today, and the case study hasn't been written. I'm sure you've all read case studies about Patagonia and other successful companies. My case study, hopefully you'll read it in 3 years, and it'll be successful. It took me some time to find out what my values were. And when I say my own values, I don't mean those values that my parents and my mentors and my teachers inculcated in me as a child. I'm talking about those things that are important to me as an employee in my workplace. And so I thought back to beginning with my time in the Navy. And there were 3 things that struck me with my time in the Navy. I spent over 9 years. I was passionate about the product or the service I was providing. And with the Navy, it might sound kind of odd, but I was serving the country, and I was passionate about that. Secondly, I enjoyed the people I was working with, and we all had an unwavering commitment to a common goal, which in our case was to come home safely and accomplish the task. And lastly, I was actually very passionate about the work I was doing. So day to day, I loved the work. I grew up as an athlete, and that job as a SEAL was an extension of just that, which leads me to where I am today, which is iPath Footwear.
What you all are doing with Seer and sort of these broader entrepreneurial programs is stunning. And what that is bringing to the world is just paramount dialogue about these subjects, about this intersection of values and how you behave each day in terms of incorporating those values in your own behavior and the culture's behavior and so forth. So you guys are in an amazing place, obviously not only physically, but you're in an amazing place in time and what's happening in terms of kind of a pretty significant cultural shift. You see it everywhere. You don't have to look at Occupy Oakland or Occupy Wall Street or whatever it is. There's something that's happening out there that's very significant, and clearly you guys, and I'm not conjoining what's happening inside you and what's happening there. I'm just saying there's a current that's happening that's actually quite significant, and we're in the midst of a transformative period, and you guys are involved in this, and you have an opportunity that's extraordinary. If you can very clearly articulate what you stand for, either as a human being or as an organization, that's very, very powerful. Also, very clearly articulated values are a massive competitive differentiator. So when we're recruiting people to Prana, or when I was recruiting people to Athleta, people matter more than anything else. That's just the principal thing that's actually going to move the whole world forward.
Seer is one of the most exciting programs we have going on here at the Grazie Dio School because it integrates the values of business in terms of profitability and building quality products that a market will actually appreciate with the values that drive us here at the Grazie Dio School, the social, environmental, and ethical concerns that give value and purpose to us as business leaders of the future. So it's a great opportunity for our students to sit at the feet of some teachers and practitioners who can bring together those two worlds in a meaningful whole.
Next year's Seer Symposium is on for November 2nd, 2012. See you there.